And it's also rare that you were able to achieve great success in K-pop without being in a group. I mean, there's very few solo K-pop artists like that are very incredibly famous. G-Dragon, one of them, Icon.
Okay,
But
facts.
that is right?
Facts. Okay, this is like something people. I've thought about this a lot because I recognize like I've been very successful and I'm so thankful and I'm very, very blessed. But I look at my peers and I'm like, and I think it's hard not to compare yourself to the people around you. You know, why don't I have the success or this of this other person or that group or whatever? But it is very rare to find a solo artist that did not derive from a group.
Oh, 100%. And the biggest solo artists were once in a group.
Yes. There was a list of like top male solo. I was like, everybody in here is from a massive group.
Yeah.
Like it's like tiny percentage of people who are like, oh, we started as solo artists and we're still solo artists. Which then I'm just like, man, thank the Lord we kind of made it somehow and just kind of keep chugging along somehow.
Why though? Like, why do you feel like you need to start in a group to become big as a solo artist?
That's a very big, deep question that has to do with the role music groups play in Korea and in Asia. Mm-hmm. And it's all about like everybody has their bias and they're attached to their shade of the group. Mm-mm-mm. And then in some situations, like, you know, I know that there's groups that exist where people literally based on when you buy their songs, it will be linked to an artist and that data determines where the artist ranks in the group as a whole.
Yeah.
And that determines how much even screen time they get. It's a big question.
That's like,
answer.
I think the easiest way to answer that is like, I think groups, when you think of it from like a label perspective, groups are probably less of a risky investment than a solo artist. Because if you have 10 people in a group, chances are
you'll find
you're
one.
going to find one person in that group. You're like, I love this person. This is my ultimate stan or whatever.
Yeah.
Bias, yes. And so it's easier to kind of, you know, spread the risk across 10 kids as opposed to we're going to go all in on one. And then the other thing that I think, big reason why K-pop does so well is because, you know, it's all human, normal people. They just are in really cool groups, but they love seeing like the interaction and the chemistry within
Amongst
the
them.
team. So like all the YouTube channels and all the fan memes and everything that go around are like members hanging out with each other and like pulling pranks and having fun. Whereas for me, I don't have members. So I'm just like by myself all the time, twiddling my thumbs, be like, I guess I'm just gonna like
post another photo of just me alone.
Just like another selfie. So that's something
Here is my friend.
Yeah, it's like my invisible friend, buddy. But that's something that I've always been very open about. Is like I wish sometimes I had a group because I would have somebody or some people to like enjoy and like share
the experience
with.
Gosh.
And I think again from a more technical level, from a label perspective, it's riskier.
But at the same time, you wouldn't have creative control. I don't know if you've had creative control your whole career, but is that something that you would worry about in a group, that you have to kind of adapt to these other people?
I'm sure. Well, I think when you're in a group, it's like okay for the better good, like for
it's for the greater good.
Kind of
Yeah,
thing, right?
totally.
But then if you look at like the solo artists right now who are, you know, who make it on the charts, they're all derived from the group. So I think the strategy's been make them massive as a group, and then once you're massive, then you get to do all your little solo like massive projects.
Yeah.
Not little projects, massive projects. And that's kind of been their trajectory. For me, when I got to Korea, I was totally down to be in a group, but they're like, you're too old. And I was like, the ripe old age of 23. And I was like, man, I must be freaking like...
You are weathered.
Like a mummy or something. Because like, they were like, ooh, 23. Like, you're going to be so old. Like, everybody's like 14. And I was like, all right, that sounds odd. Like, let's not do that. So... yeah, that's kind of how it worked out. I mean, it's just life. You can always think, like, what if, or, like, you know, wonder what would have happened. But I think, for me, like, to your point, Dan, like, I have a lot of creative control now. Like, I've done a lot of my career on my own terms, for better or for worse. But I like to think that as a Korean American, it allowed me to kind of really flex, like, everything I learned in school and, like, growing up here. And then kind of learn as much as I could when I moved to Korea and like really be embraced and also embrace the country and the culture and the people and yeah.